Hey guys, and welcome back. Rob here from room 301. I'm pleased to be joined by Caroline Smith today from Smudged. Smudged are a B2B brand marketing and communications agency. Caroline has been on before, so feel free to go back and check that episode out. It was just as insightful as this one. Let's get into it. Caroline, welcome back. Why is it so important to bring your people to the forefront when it comes to B2B marketing?
Good question. And there's nothing like being thrown in the deep end. People in B2B are people buy from people, and and the relationships are with people. Yes, they are buying into the business and the brand that's behind it, but there is B2B cycles are not one-offs. They are long-term relationships where the relationship is with a person, not the business, not the product. So it's crucial that people think people buy from people or person to person.
No, I totally agree. And does that apply to just B2B, or do you think that extends to B2C as well?
Yeah, it absolutely does. I think it's I was doing a workshop the other week and I said actually where B2B can learn from B2C is B2C gets the person element very, very well. And the example I gave us to go back a while was the Bisto advert with the family with the roast dinner and the gravy, because at the time that was the very traditional Sunday view and it just got into it, and B2C really does get that personal element of who is the buyer and manages to target their marketing so well to that experience. And that's why even as B2B marketeers we struggle to find good B2B examples, but we can always pull a B2C one.
No, I agree. Very good to start with a nice loaded question as well.
Yeah.
Let's start to get back. This is for anyone that listens to this podcast. We took a little break over December, so yeah, excited to get back. So without further ado, I'm going to get stuck into the same three questions we always ask,
Yeah.
which is, what's in your toolbox? What's a failure? Bonus points for being funny, and what's
Yeah.
our guest going to put in room 301? So what really grinds their gears about marketing? So first things first. What's in your toolbox, Caroline? So, what helps you get through your to-do list? How do you apply different frameworks to your work? What helps you stay so effective and so efficient?
Ooh, I'd like to say I had it down and I was bossing it, so to speak, but it has been the controversial Marmite world, ChatGPT. Learning to use it as a another team member, learning to use it to do all those things that when I had a team and we had that structure. So getting it to huddle with me, getting it to bounce ideas and teaching it to question back at me, getting it to be the rational to, I'm sure like as most of us marketeers, we have so many ideas, whether it's even from the way we want to run businesses or the businesses we're working with, whether that's in-house or not. We are spinning a lot of plates from the next idea to the campaign we're running to the, in my world, the next market entry strategy we're doing. And it just uh, creates a environment that allows me to structure all those thoughts, pull them all back together, and be create an almost another team member. So that's probably one of my biggest ones.
No.
Um,
Any specific use cases?
so I'm neurodivergent, and I quite actually talk about that. If you follow me on LinkedIn, if it's not talking about B2B brand, I'm talking about my journey. Yes, absolutely. It's the ability to let's talk about this yesterday actually. One of the things with ADHD people we get is rejection sensitivity and dysphoria, which is where we take no's a little bit heavier than most
Oh, wow.
people.
Okay.
So rejection is part and parcel, whether you are pitching a new idea to your leadership, whether you are pitching a new idea to a client, whether a campaign just didn't hit the way you wanted it to. Um, it, we, I can take that quite personally, and it can send me into an imposter syndrome loop. Being able to spar with Chat GPT, for want of a better word, and re-rationalize that conversation in my head, and it allows me to level up, restructure, and not only just kind of rationalize it, go, okay, how are we going to let's get you back in the game. So that's one of the best things for me to allow for the bounce back. Things that I would quite often go down a rabbit hole with. So at the moment, I'm building out Notion as my kind of. I'm
Well,
very. I'm
that's a beast. It's a
um,
beast.
because I'm quite visual, and but I love the idea of Notion that right in front of me I can create myself a custom dashboard that
Slight tangent, Caroline. What are you using Notion for? Is it process storage, or is it like are you building your second brain in Notion, or?
I, I dare to say I'm building my second brain in
I'm not about doing the
Notion.
same thing myself, actually. We'll have to catch up on that.
So it is, I'm very visual and I'm very much out of sight, out of mind. And that was where I was, as my business is leveling up and things are getting exciting, I was, you write it on a whiteboard and it becomes too static and I needed something that could
Yeah.
roll with me. I've tried ClickUp. I've got nothing against ClickUp. When I'm working with clients with projects, I still use ClickUp. But for me, because it's a little bit too rigid for me, I found it took me longer to work out. Whereas suddenly someone taught me that I could build into Notion this customed, it's called Smudged HQ, and it's and learn how to pull all those links and have it live. And my to-do list, we're just in the process of automating it. That my to-do list is my live rolling, pulled from all these different places. Um, what and working with Chat GPT to go, okay, I need a page to do this, and telling me what all the shortcuts are, because I could disappear down that rabbit hole for months. So being able to go to Chat GPT, I am looking to build out Notion to do this. First thing, asking it, you know me and my business well enough. How do you think I should build it? And asking it to think instead of me takes away so much of my thinking time. Then being able to go, okay, I like that. How do we build that page? And step by step. And I've taught it that I need things chunked down into the tiniest little step as possible. And I've taught it to go, don't move on till step two until I've told you I've completed step one, because I might have more questions. And so it is literally a dummy's guide to whatever I want it to do. It's like, so step by step, step one, come back to me when you've completed that. Step two, done that. What do I need to do next? Come back to me. And it is like, stop starting a YouTube video doing it, but at my pace.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I've got it at the moment, taking me through my own process that it takes to do with clients step by step. That's interesting.
It feels like you're
Seeing your
pretty deep on AI then. So, is there anything you think? So, for context, the vast
mm,
majority of the people that listen to this are marketing managers, marketing directors, leading marketing teams, or heavily
yeah,
involved in marketing campaigns, etc. Any use cases you've got specifically to support with that ordinarily maybe 5 years ago you might have needed to employ for?
yeah. So it's kind of my user case that's taken from someone else who taught me how to use it. It was Vodafone. I went to an event about Vodafone, um, that they were talking about leveling up their business strategy and their business growth. And one of the questions was, how can you maximize output and efficiency when we're having to minimize people? And so our time is precious. And it was their marketing and strategy director that said that how they have done it is they've got closed AI at Vodafone, but they've trained AI to replicate people. So rather than being reliant on waiting for someone for an answer, you can prompt their chat GPT with, answer this question like our strategy director, answer this question like
Okay,
our,
yeah.
and that's what I've taken on board. So when I work with, especially some of my smaller clients who budget restrictions and they're looking for ways to, where they want access to me, but I can't always be on, you know, and I know we're quite time poor and sometimes that quick question. So I teach them to ask ChatGPT the questions that we're going to ask me, and the sort of things. So I work with, especially when we're doing a lot of modelling for new market entry and looking at propositions, positioning, and messaging. They'll get a list of, ask it this, then go back and go, is that what my customer would? And teach it to think like your customer. So that's probably one of the best things I learned how to do is it's teach it to think like you, and then teach other people to use within reason, because um, obviously there's still things as humans that, as we go back to the people and people we said earlier on, that the human experience will, that AI will never be able to take away. But those simplistically, when it's a process or a proven model that has worked time and time again, that's all you're teaching them, is follow this model,
Hmm.
and then how to rationalize it. So that for me, and also not in my own business and how I work with clients, of it allows to spread myself a little bit further without spreading my energy too thinly.
Yeah, that's a really interesting use case. I've done a. I'm not going to claim any level of sophistication that comes close to Vodafone, but I feel like I've done something quite similar. So on ChatGPT, I've set up a project which
Yeah,
I've basically described our internal team. Um, and obviously, being the leader of this business, and I think there's 32 of us in total now, I often have to post a public message or deliver something, whether it's good news, bad news, whatever it might be, or an instruction. I now feed that message through and say, how will my team react to this? And it'll give
yeah,
me feedback. And if it's a written message, it will rewrite it for me. It'll be maybe a little bit more empathetic, etc., etc. That's where I fall down. I fall down. Well, I don't think I do anymore, but I certainly used to fall down with my comms was very direct, and it used to probably be quite unsettling for the wider team. But now I just run it through, ask it, okay, how is the most sensitive person in our team going to receive this? And it will give me some tips and advice on how to do it. And that's been a game changer for me, genuinely a game changer. Um, and yeah, it really helped me with my sort of day to day comms and my ability to lead the business and the people within it. So yeah, that's really interesting. So before we move on to the next question, anything else in your toolbox you want to chat about?
No, I wouldn't mind picking up on that one though, because that was quite a good point, and that's one of the things you only have to go onto LinkedIn to see people talking about how they're using ChatGPT communicate. And I think that's what us as marketeers are not getting across very clearly when we're saying to people, stop using ChatGPT or don't do this, don't do that, is exactly that. What it's very good at is helping you pick the tone of, because sometimes in my LinkedIn messages, actually, I want it to be quite direct, but sometimes I'm like, oh, hang on, I know this person well enough.
Yeah.
My direct tone isn't probably going to come across quite well, or exactly what you said. How do I put more emotion in that? How do I take the emotion out of this? And that I think as marketeers, we're trying to say to people, chat GPT is great, but can we try and use it better? And we're not articulating it very well of, and I think that's why I want to come back to that point, because I think there's a really good point there of saying, we're not saying stop using it. We're saying learn how to use it in a more human way.
Yeah, no, now you've started to talk about asking it how a strategy director might think about this and how X might think about this. I've just thought to myself, why have I done it for my internal team, but why have I not done it for everybody else I interact with? Why not prospect? I still do a lot of the front facing sales, for example. Why have I not, given it the profile of a prospect and asked it how it will receive my proposal or how it will
Yeah.
receive my follow up email, etc., etc. So, yeah, that's me. That's my evening gone. I think in
So
a rabbit hole.
it's just about productivity and efficiencies and speeding up processes, something that would take back and forward, something where something would have butted heads, you can use it to, because and I know, and I'm sure other people listening to this must know, you're never going to know until you're room and you read that human rapport. What it can do is help you at least make some judgment, and that you go into that room with a little bit more understanding, because you're
Yeah.
always going to be in front of a person with human emotions and human situations.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I knew it wouldn't take long to discuss AI this year.
Sorry.
So, question number two, Caroline. And interestingly, we were talking about this off air, weren't we, a moment ago about failures and
Yeah.
separating those that are on a sort of higher level are the ones that can, take a challenge and navigate around it. So,
Yeah.
you've clearly gotten to a high level, running your own consultancy, etc. So, you must have failed loads of times. So, give me an example where you have failed, and like I said at the start, there is bonus points here if it's funny.
Oh. Now you see, I can think of them, and now you've put the pressure on me to think of the funny ones. I'm feeling the, I'm feeling the pressure now, Rob. Um, do you know what the biggest failure is going back to what we were saying in the previous one, is um, presuming I knew the audience,
Hmm.
presuming I knew the audience, um, and going all in and just getting it so wrong. And you spent so much time and effort on it, and you were so confident it was going to hit the way you wanted it to, and it just didn't. Um, but they happen. I'm still trying to think of a funny one. This is going to bug me, and I'll probably think about it afterwards. But yeah, they're part and parcel of the journey, I think. And
Mm,
I think going back to what you're saying about talking about off air, I think the reason why I'm struggling to find one is, and without making it sound really bad, there's been quite a few, but that's what we were saying is about the ability to what makes certain people good, really good at their job. It is the times we've got it wrong, and our ability to pivot and bounce back from it. Um, but I mean, there's times I've taken on the wrong job. Um, there's times I've taken on the wrong client. Um, and but it's the ability to take your own personal accountability and go, that's on me. That was, and learn from it. So, whether it's a job or whether it's a client, is did I do my due diligence properly? Did
mm.
I feel like I've taken this really dry now, and I feel really sorry that I haven't been able to make it funny.
No,
Um,
no, I can relate to the client point for sure. I mean, I know what I've learned from potentially taking on the wrong client. What are the things you took away from that?
um, Values. So the biggest thing is, and it's one of the things I've done over the last year to shape Smudged as a business, is who are we? What do we stand for? And it's one of the things, without putting a plug in for what you do, is that whole thing of making sure that someone truly knows who they are and unapologetically leads with it, because it's that whole thing about then a certain element of your qualification is done because it's aligned to who you are and what you stand for, and that's that whole element of purpose-led and purpose-based businesses gets talked about a lot in B2B at the moment. But we think about it from a social impact point of view. But actually, purpose led is who are you and what do you stand for and what won't you stand for? And they're two really key things. And I think, and I've said yes to things, and those, to say another overused word, those red flags and those alarms were buzzing in my head a little bit. But I decided I'd go and swim with sharks because it was an experience. And I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned, and I suppose to go back to the failures, is red flags are there for a reason. Um, and know that it doesn't make, but that's a personal thing, and it's they're just not aligned to you and what you stand for. So you're not going to enjoy working with them, for them, and they're not going to get the best out of you because you're not aligned to them. So I would say that's probably my biggest failure and lesson and growth opportunity I've taken over the last few years.
Excellent, excellent. And last but not least, this is my always my favorite bit. Um, Room 301. So for anyone that doesn't know, the reason we called this podcast Room 301 is because in SEO, which is one of the core things that we offer as a business, there's something called a 301 redirect, which is the art of telling Google or the search engine that this page no longer exists. Don't look at it, ignore it, never to be seen again, or maybe it's located elsewhere. Um, so we've created Room 301, which is a room where we put things about marketing that we're not keen on.
Okay.
Things about marketing that we don't like, that grinds our gears, that annoys us, that if I could swear would us off. So, what you off about marketing?
That people don't understand that it's more than just promotions. I'm sure we could go down a whole rabbit hole for this one.
Who
That
are, who are those people typically?
um, they are businesses and they are B2B. I'm going to put it out there. It is B2B businesses. That promotions is just the sprinkles and you need the whole recipe in your cake. And the reason why you're slowing your business down and why marketing isn't working in your business is because you are just going out there and throwing promotions at it. You are throwing a landing page out there, or using my favorite analogy, the field of dreams, build it and they will come. You've still got to direct people to it, and that's a whole multifaceted approach, which goes right the way back to who are you talking to, why should they care, why you, going back to that last point about purpose, where are they hanging out, where do they go to make their decisions, and then aligning your brand, your strategy, your communications, and then your promotional elements, and making sure you're on the right channels. And I've got to, can I have two? Because it's
You can have
links.
three
Can I
if
have
you
two? Stop shiny objects of new channels and new tactics. Just because a new channel's come out, that doesn't mean you are slowing your business down, because we were going back to rabbit holes because you're spending too long learning this new channel that I've got news for you in B2B. I can guarantee your client is not on
No.
because they're not going to be early adopters. Um, so they're linked, but it's technically, we'll call it one and a half.
What would you, to challenge that slightly,
Mm.
what would you say if maybe our client's not an early adopter, but is there any benefit to us as the business being the early adopter?
Yes, if you think it's right for your client and your audience and the industry they're going into. So there are, if you are in a quite, to use an example I used yesterday, and it's not this black and white, but TikTok is a really good example. If you're in a regulated and compliance-based industry right now, I wouldn't be spending your time and effort on TikTok. No, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but personally, when the whole conversation is about is it being used to take our data, if you are compliant, regulated, very kind of IP based B2B business, I wouldn't even be considering a strategy on TikTok at the moment. That's a personal view, but
Especially, yeah, B2B. I think TikTok is a very tricky place
yeah,
to crack if you're a B2B. But B2C, yeah, absolutely fine.
yeah.
And I've seen a couple of B2B businesses doing some good stuff on TikTok, but
I'm not anti it at all. And there's some really good beats, exactly what you said, and some of the changes it's brought and the fences it's brought down in certain industries that has allowed easier accessibility to certain information, and it's helping the. So if you are a going back to purpose led, if you're doing something that is looking to change something environmental, or whether it's environmental sustainability, people and culture, and you need to do end user influence, I would be, as long as you're not putting product and IP on there in some way, it's a fantastic way to very quickly join the conversation
yeah,
and have, gain that share of voice that is so urgently needed of to show that you are someone who is an ally in that space. So absolutely in B2B, if you are looking to change and do something related to sustainability, EDI, any of those kind of true social impact based challenges, you do need to do end user influencing, and TikTok, Instagram are the places to be for those. But that's a very clear, well planned out strategy, not a. And I woke up on Monday morning and let's just do it.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And then moving back to your first point about marketing not being just promotion. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't count how many times I've spoken to businesses or business owners or whoever in quite big businesses in some cases where they just say, our industry doesn't need marketing. We just rely on referrals. And what's your response to that? Have you had that much? I seem to get that quite a lot.
Less now, but my answer to your first one is we just rely on referrals. What got you that referral? It's marketing.
Yeah,
It may not be marketing as you believe it. And I think that's where we go back to people need to understand that the referral came from you doing a good job because you had a really good product, which is marketing, which is it basically means someone is becoming a marketeer for you.
that's
It
a
is
really
that,
interesting point. Yeah,
so marketing is not a department or a function. It is a strategic element of the growth of your business. Um, I can't. I'd love to be able to roll the Seth Godin quote off my tongue about the fact of marketing is how you and everybody else sees your business and interprets it and interacts with it. And it just happens that promotion is one of those elements that helps people have an interaction with your business and your brand. So there are businesses that do not need marketing in the sense of the tactical elements of it that it's becoming known for. And I agree. I've worked in some manufacturing companies where the way we approached marketing wasn't all over social media, but it wasn't heavily on SEO because we weren't something that someone would search for. It was an events-based strategy, but then obviously marketing had to make sure those events were maximised the exposure of them and
yeah,
drove the people to them. So it is understanding how marketing as a function works in your business, because there are certain elements of marketing that aren't relevant to every business.
yeah. It's just I have conversations where it's like, oh, we've never had to work hard for our customers. We just kind of get them. And my response is always, well, imagine how big you could be if you did.
Um, I choose not to because I go, oh, amazing. Um,
Great place to
um,
be, yeah, for
oh
sure.
yeah, I go amazing. I will ask them what you're doing. And how are you making sure that that is continuing and
Mm,
because it is the other thing is I use the analogy brand doesn't matter until it matters.
mm,
And the whole point is of in a lot of product-based businesses who don't need marketing traditionally, um, and then they have a let's backtrack. The best way to say it is what happens if something goes wrong, because it does, unfortunately, and you have a reputational issue. How good is your brand to recover
mm.
from that? And so the client that you said about the referrals, I've got no doubt that they've probably got a rock solid customer experience that they would recover really well, but they will then need marketing to communicate, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, this is the recovery. But that's what I say is how good is your brand if something was to go wrong?
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, Caroline, really appreciate you coming on again. For anyone listening, Caroline, this is the second time Caroline's been on. I will have to dig out what episode number it was when you first came
Oh,
on. But in that first episode, we didn't ask the three questions. We actually went back through Caroline's career and we asked some thought-provoking questions about the people side of B2B marketing. So yeah, really interesting episode if anyone is in B2B marketing or leading a marketing function within a B2B business. So before we drop off, can I tell everybody more about you,
yeah.
your business, and who you want to help and how you help?
Thank you. Yeah, so obviously I'm Caroline. I am the founder and I am a brand and growth consultant for Smudged. And Smudged is a brand and growth consultancy that predominantly works in the B2B space, predominantly with purpose-led or techie businesses to help you become, as I call it, the apple in a room full of oranges and find your really unique space and communicate it and make sure we align your I can't even speak, sorry, your brand, sales and marketing with the customer to ensure that you go from being the best kept secret to being the one to go to.
Excellent, and that's a great little mini pitch as well. I like that.
Thank you.
Caroline, thank you very much, and thank you everybody who's listening, and we'll see you again soon.